Oh, hello there. I'm Bilchan.
I'm Nimacong.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chapter 1, Section 1 of A Tale of Two Cities, with the second of Golden Thread.
As.
Ah.
A Tale of Two Cities, Book the Second of Golden Thread. Charles Dickens. Chapter 1, Section 1. Tolson's Bank by Temple Bar was an old-fashioned place, even in the year 1780. It was very small, very dark, very ugly, very incommodious. It was an old-fashioned place. Moreover, in the moral attribute that the partners in the house were proud of its smallness, proud of its darkness, proud of its ugliness, proud of its incommodiousness. They were even boastful of its eminence in those particulars, and were fired by an express conviction that, if it were less objectionable, it would be less respectable. This was no passive belief, but an active weapon which they flashed at more convenient places of business. Tolson's, they said, wanted no elbow room. Tolson's wanted no light. Tolson's wanted no embellishment. Noakes and Company, a smite, or Snooksbrother's might. But Tolson's, thank heaven, Tolson's. In this respect the house was much on a par with the country, had long been highly objectionable, but were only the more respectable. Thus it had come to pass that Tolson's was the triumphant perfection of inconvenience. After bursting open a door of idiotic obstinacy with a weak rattle in its throat, you fell into Tolson's down two steps, and came to your senses in a miserable little shop, with two little counters, where the oldest of men made your cheque shake as if the wind rustled it, while they examined the signature by the dingiest of windows, which were always under a sharp bath of mud from Fleet Street, and which were made the dingier by their own iron bars proper, and the heavy shadow of Temple Bar condemned hold at the back, where you meditated on a misspent life, until the house came with its hands in its pockets, and you could hardly blink at it in the dismal twilight. Your money came out of, or went into, wormy old wooden drawers, and shut. Your bank notes had a musty odour, as if they were fast decomposing into rags again. Your plate was stowed away among the neighbouring cesspools, and evil communications corrupted its good polish in a day or two. Your deeds got into extempore strong rooms made of kitchens and sculleries, and fretted all the fat out of their parchments into the banking house there. Your lighter boxes of family papers went upstairs into a Barmecide room, that always had a great dining table in it and never had a dinner. And well, even in the year 1780, the first letters written to you by your old love, or by your little children, were but newly released from the horror of being ogled through the windows, Abyssinia or Ashanti. But indeed, at that time, putting to death was a recipe much in vogue with all trades and professions, and not least of all with Tolson's. Death is nature's remedy for all things, and why not legislation's? Accordingly, the forger was put to death. The utter of a bad note was put to death. The unlawful opener of a letter was put to death. The purloiner for 2 shillings and 6pence was put to death. The holder of a horse at Tolson's door, who made off with it, was put to death. The coiner of a bad shilling was put to death. The Sanders of 3/4 of the notes in the whole gamut of crime were put to death. Being worth remarking that the fact was exactly the reverse of it. It cleared of us to this woe the trouble of each particular case, and left nothing else connected with it to be looked after. Thus and in its day, like greater places of business, its contemporaries had taken so many lives that, being privately disposed of, they would probably have excluded what little light the ground floor had, in a rather significant manner, cramped in all kinds of dim cupboards and hatches at Tilson's. The oldest of men carried on the business gravely. When they took a young man into Tilson's London house, they hid him somewhere till he was old. They kept him in a dark place, like a cheese, until he had the full Tilson flavour and bumod upon him. Then only was he permitted to be seen, spectacularly poring over large bricks, and casting his breeches and gaiters into the general weight of the establishment. Outside Tilson's never by any means in it, unless Colden was an unjob man, an occasional porter and messenger, who served as the live sign of the house. He was never absent during business hours, unless upon an errand, and then he was represented by his son, a gristly urchin of 12, who was his express image. People understood that Tilson's, in a stately way, tolerated the odd job man. The house had always tolerated some person in that capacity, and time and tide had drifted this person to the post. His surname was Cruncher, and on the evil occasion of his renouncing by proxy the works of darkness in the easterly parish church of Houndsditch, he had received the headed appellation of J. The scene was Mr. Cruncher's private lodging in Hanging Sword Alley. Wait a few hours. The time 7:30 of the clock on a windy March morning. Audamini 1780. Wistu. Cruncher himself always spoke of the year of our Lord as in the Dominoes. Ein. Wistu. Cruncher's apartments were not in a savoury neighbourhood, and were but 2 in number, as one, but they were very decently kept. Early as it was, on the windy March morning, the room in which he lay bed was already scrubbed throughout, and between the cups and saucers arranged for breakfast, and the lumbering deal table, a very clean white cloth was spread. Wistu. Cruncher reposed under a patchwork counterpane, like a harlequin at home. At first, he slept heavily, but by degrees began to roll and surge in bed. To be continued.